Hello, my name is Professor Laura Robinson. I'm an academic in the Earth Sciences department. I've got a fake background here of one of our beautiful library spaces in the Wills Memorial building. It's a wonderful place to work and study. Our building looks like a cathedral and it's full of wonderful study spaces. So hopefully you can get a small flavour from the background. I'm a typical academic in the department. I teach all sorts of courses focusing on ocean science and climate science, and that's something that a lot of students are really interested in at the moment. What's the future of the planet? Where are we going? All those kinds of things. I get a lot of pleasure from teaching that. I act as a personal tutor to lots of students that come through the course, and it's really fun to meet people coming from all around the world who come to study here in Bristol. If you come and study here, you'll get to work with students from the UK and from all around the world. And those are people who are your friends forever. You'll have connections all around the world, which is pretty wonderful. And that's the same whether you study in geography or in earth sciences. In fact, the geography building is right next to earth sciences. And there's a lot of back and forth between the academic staff. And you'll probably get to know some students in the other streams as well, which is a great thing. So I've got some slides to share with you. So let me just share my screen. Hopefully I can get this to work effectively. You can probably see my whole computer now, but I want the slideshow on. This looks like it should be working now. So what have I got here? Earth sciences. Why study earth sciences? Well, presumably you've got some sort of interest because you're watching this either live or you've come to it through the YouTube channel and you're just interested to find out a little bit more. Why would you study earth sciences? Well, I might put it the other way. Why wouldn't you study earth sciences? It's an absolutely fantastic subject that brings together all the sciences you've ever learned. And you bring them together in an interdisciplinary way and you use them to tackle problems of global significance. Earth scientists look at everything on the planet and beyond out into the solar system. So if you want to expand your mind, you want to be able to make a difference, it's a really great subject for you to look at. Well, why might you come and study earth sciences at Bristol? Well, that's a really good question as well. Obviously, we're doing this as a virtual session, so you don't get to come and visit Bristol and see what it's like. And I'm sure you've got lots of opportunities to talk to students and find out this week. And if you do go to that Q&A session with the students tomorrow, which I'd really encourage, they'll be able to tell you about Bristol. It's a really lovely, fun city to live and work in, and students love it. So that's one reason. But why would you come and study in this department? Well, we've got a really great reputation in the UK and globally as well. If you come and study with us, you'll be part of a group of students that have a reputation for being really employable, really numerate, and really problem solving. And lots of things we do in earth sciences are about looking at problems and trying to find solutions. So employers really like that because they want people who come in and make a difference, not people who just do the same as everybody else. It's a very personal and small department as well, and that might be nice for you. We've got a student to staff ratio of about 1 to 9 at the moment. Of course, that fluctuates with time, but that means you really get to know the staff. So I know my tutees really well. I'm teaching a 3rd year class at the moment. There's about 23 students in it, and I know everyone. I know what they're doing. I know what they like about the class and so on, so we can adjust as we go. So it means that you get to know people as you go along. And we'll talk a little bit about field work as we go along as well. We do all sorts of things where we actually get out into the real world and look at what's going on. And that gives you another opportunity to meet your classmates and to get to know the staff really well. You'll be pleased to hear we're all back at in-person teaching now, so everyone's around and we're pretty much back to normal. Earth sciences and geography have got really wonderful facilities. I'm from earth sciences, so I'm putting a big focus on that, but a lot of the messages I'm telling you, you can apply to geography as well. We've got great lab spaces. There's room for you to study. I mentioned about the library already, but there are chemistry labs where you can go and practice your skills. There are loads and loads of specimens where you can get your hands on things, look at rocks, look down microscopes, you know, really find out what you can see, and you can sort of make your study work for you, and you can work with other students, and that's another way to get to know people and integrate into life here. It's very important for you to know about rankings and that kind of thing. These things fluctuate over time, but Earth Sciences is ranked really highly in the world and in the UK, and so is geography. So you can rest assured that you'll be taught by really good people, and you'll get to really find out what's going on at the cutting edge of Earth Sciences, come out with a really good qualification. In Earth Sciences in particular, we do allow you quite a lot of flexibility, and I'll talk a little bit about the course offerings that we have, but there's a lot of different unit options. So you can guide your learning to go in the directions that you want to go in. You can study for 3 years, or you can study for 4 years. And actually we offer you the possibility to switch between those options as you go through your course. So if you really love it and you want to stay another year, we can allow that as long as your grades are good enough. Or if you signed up for a 4-year course and after 3 years you found your dream job, of course you can graduate then. We also have a study abroad program, and we have some different kinds of programs that you can take, and I'll go through those. So what do we offer in Earth Sciences? We've got 4 programs. There's a geology program, there's an environmental geoscience program, we have a geophysics program, and we have a paleontology and evolution program. They're all distinctive in their own way, but of course they carry a common theme of studying the Earth Sciences, studying the planet we live on, just in slightly different ways. So what is the difference between each of these? I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? You've already got to choose a university, a country to study in, you've got to choose a department, and then we're offering 4 different programs within that, as well as geography, where you can also study physical geography and some of the themes that you might see in Earth Sciences. So paleontology and evolution, and this is really the study of the history of life. Quite often people who study paleontology have known they wanted to study paleontology for a long time, and it can be a real passion, but that's not the same for everyone. But it uses some more biological knowledge. We think about the history of life, where we've come from, where we're going, and actually these are really important themes at the moment as we look at the biodiversity crisis that is hitting the planet. You need to understand, why do we get mass extinctions? How could we recover from them? What do we need to do to maintain a habitable planet? These are really, really big philosophical themes at the moment. And so the things you study might actually have some really interesting applications. Geology is our biggest recruiting course, so you'd be in the largest cohort there. And geology is perhaps the most traditional of the subjects we teach when you think about the word. However, we're always keeping it up to date and thinking about why you might want to study geology. So geologists might study paleontology. They might look at minerals and rocks and how they form. We have an incredibly strong volcanology group in Bristol. These are people who are making hazard maps and trying to recommend what we do when volcanoes go off. Should we have no-fly zones? Should we be evacuating people? How do we manage that? We're looking at earthquakes and how they move, and it's really about how the deep earth works and interacts with everything that we see around us. And there's a lot going on in geology at the moment where we're thinking about moving from oil and gas to electric vehicles and things like that, because we need the mineral resources from the earth to build the batteries we need. So there's a lot of really interesting areas where geology is becoming more relevant to the changing world. Environmental geosciences, they might be looking more at the surface of the planet. So I've given you some examples here of perhaps looking at cleaning up pollution events, making recommendations in environmental consultancy, perhaps looking at how flooding occurs, or hydrogeology. The water cycle is an extremely important thing. Where's water coming from? How do we keep it clean? How do we supply everybody on the planet with clean water? I've got a beautiful picture of an iceberg there, looking at the cryosphere. We see the ice is melting all around the planet. Why is it melting? How fast is it melting? And what can ice tell us about the history of the planet? You can see little layers in the iceberg there. If we take those layers apart, we can actually learn about the history of the planet. I've included a picture of a research ship there as well, and that's very close to my heart. I've worked on this research ship all around the world. I've been up to the Arctic, into the tropics, I've been down to Antarctica, and I've been able to use ships like this to look at what's going on in the oceans, how much carbon's there, what's happening, and we can bring that kind of excitement to the classes that you will take, and you can find out about what's really happening in these kinds of subjects. Geophysics is really the study of the physical properties of Earth materials. So if you love maths and physics and you want to have a quantitative framework as you look at how the planet functions, this is a really good topic for you. Of course, the traditional role of geophysics is doing like seismic surveys to find out where oil and gas fields are. And of course, we still need to do that. A lot of the world uses fossil fuels as energy, but we can also use those same tools to look at mineral resources, to work with the nuclear industry and try to make things safer, try to make things more efficient. Geophysicists can also use things like satellites to look at changing sea level, and also maybe looking right down in the deep earth. There's a picture of a section of the earth there. And geophysicists can use the energy of earthquakes to find out what's happening in the center of the planet, which is pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. So those are kind of some of the flavors of the different streams that you might study if you came and looked at earth sciences. Which degree should you choose? Well, of course, that's absolutely up to you. We're always happy to advise you and give you some hints and so on. But you've got a basic option between a 3-year and a 4-year program. So that's a 3-year BSc. It's the most common degree that people take across the university. And within earth sciences, we actually offer an additional 4th year, which is an MSci. And you can stay on, and during that 4th year, you do a little bit more of your own kind of research. Do you want to study abroad? I mean, you'd already be coming from overseas to the UK, so you may not want to do that, but we do offer some options to study overseas as well. And I give a couple of examples here. People study all around the world. The options change every year, but that's fine. And if you do study abroad, you take a 4-year program, the integrated MSci, and you study abroad for your 3rd year, then come back to Bristol, complete your degree. But you don't have to worry, the entry grades are the same whether or not you do 3 years or 4 years, and whether or not you take a study abroad option. It's not a very interesting slide, and things are changing a lot at the moment since we've had the pandemic and everyone's rethought how we teach and so on. But you know, sometimes it's nice to know what you might be looking at when you come to university for the first time. So this is just kind of broad outline. It's not, you know, exactly how it would be, but if you came in first year, in fact, it's week 1 here at the university now, and we've got all our new students here, and everyone's finding their feet, but you might expect to get something like 9 lectures a week where someone like me will, you know, give you information and explain what's going on and what you should be learning. We have what we call practical sessions where you spend, you know, 3 hours or 2 hours or something like that in a classroom, maybe looking at rocks out in the field, down a microscope, doing some calculations and trying to solidify the stuff that you've been learning in the lectures. You'll have tutorials. So you'll have a personal tutor. It could be me, it could be somebody else, and we'll meet with you and maybe 2, 3, 4 other students once every couple of weeks in the first year. We'll get to know you, set you a few exercises to practice. We can get to know you, so we can write you reference letters when you leave, and just give you a really nice point of contact, so you know somebody on the staff really well. You'll also go out in the field and look at things. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. And there's lots of opportunities for you to get personal feedback and revision before exams. The most important thing, of course, at university, which might be rather different to school, is independent study, where you're coming to university, you're choosing, you're moving countries, you know, it's a whole different world. And you come, and these libraries and the internet are just full of information for you to find out. And most of our students just really love earth sciences. So there's no problem to start reading about it. Maybe you start off going to a website and you're like, wow, this is an amazing thing, I want to find out more. So that's for you to do, and we can help you. So what happens when you come to your degree? You've got all these classes, all these things. In year 1, we recognise all of you have got really different backgrounds, whether or not you come from the UK or overseas. Your education will be slightly different. Some of you will have taken more maths and physics. Some of you will have done geology. Some of you will never have seen a rock in your life before. It's no problem. We know that. So in year 1, we spend a lot of time getting you all up to speed. We'll give you some basic maths, physics, chemistry skills if you need them. We'll help you with your computing. We'll help you get all the terminology, get the ideas about how to do scientific writing, all that kind of stuff. If you've got some gaps, we try to help you fill them. In year 2, you'll start to get more tailored courses. You know, if you're an environmental geoscience student, for example, you might start to study atmospheric sciences. If you're a geophysics student, you might start to do a bit more seismology. You know, just start to do a little bit more of what you know, specialized courses, and starting to learn more about all the things you're passionate about. And in year 3, the classes get more bespoke again. you start to do projects, work independently. You can see there a student that I worked with a couple of years ago on a third-year project. We're trying to look at how pollution moves through estuaries and into marine organisms. If you do stay on for year 4, you'll actually do your own research project. You'll get integrated into a research group. You'll be able to really do something interesting. And sometimes students' work is even published or taken to international conferences. So there's a nice opportunity for you there if that's something that you're interested in, but you don't have to do that. So field classes, I've spoken a little bit about that. Unless you've done geography or earth sciences before, you may not ever have done this, or you may absolutely love getting out into the wild and that's something that's motivated you. But both geography and earth sciences emphasize fieldwork skills. Many of our students come because they love to be able to see what they're learning in reality, and a few students don't like it. And if you're not used to the British weather, it can be a little bit of a culture shock. So you need to get a waterproof coat and some warm gloves for the winter, but it's not too bad and we all enjoy it. And we have a good time out there, and it's a really, really good way to learn. How does this work? You don't have to be worried about whether you've done this before. We really coach you from the beginning. So at the very beginning of your course, you'll start to have some afternoons, maybe weekend things where you can just start to learn. You'll be in a group class, there'll be lots of instruction, you won't be on your own. And then gradually as you go through the degree, you'll be able to build your confidence until you can work individually and get out there and learn things. You'll never be left on your own. There'll be people around, but you'll be able to work independently in the field. A nice bit of good news for you is that the fieldworks costs in our sciences are not additional to what you're already paying in fees. So anywhere we go, that will be covered for you. So how do you become a scientist? You're coming in, you've been at school, you've done all this work, you're just trying to sort of see where you go, but you want to become a scientist. You want to be an independent person, you can get a job, make a difference, whatever motivation it is that you have. Well, you'll be solving real problems if you do earth sciences or geography. You'll be out there, trying to figure out what's happened, what's going on. Why is this water course looking like this? Why has this thing happened? And you can use all the skills you've learned in the classroom to do that. So you'll be quite a creative scientist. You can volunteer in labs, take part in internships, you can expand your horizons in the city and beyond. And actually, the University of Bristol is very good at integrating with the local community and finding opportunities. Everything's open to everybody. We put on all sorts of different support and ways for you to get involved. And it really is a springboard to a wonderful career in whatever direction you're interested in. What about employment? It's important, isn't it? You're embarking on a really big life journey if you move countries and start your degree. So it's hard to tell you what you'll do when you graduate. The world is changing really, really fast. If you start your degree next year, it'll be 4 years before you graduate, and the world's going to look different. And where we get our energy from is going to be different. So the job market will be different than it is today, but you'll be ready for it. You'll be able to take up the new opportunities and go for it. But, our graduates, when they choose to get a job, they always get a job. There's some statistics here from the graduate office. But basically, if you've got these numerate problem-solving skills, you'll be able to get a job in a field that you're interested in. I just pulled together a few examples of the different types of jobs that people go on to after they've graduated in earth sciences. Lots of our students actually go on to do a master's, a PhD, higher education. But in the actual job field, people go into things you might expect. They do go into oil and gas, they go into environmental consulting, they go into industries that you might expect, museum curation, paleontologists and so on. But you can also go on and do so much else as well, because you've got all of these skills. You can go and work in the city, you can go and work in meteorology, you can go and work in the media. So many opportunities for you to study and learn and go and do whatever it is you like to do. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. Of course, it was mainly earth science focused, but across earth sciences and geography, we do have some wonderful opportunities for you, and there's loads of opportunity now to ask questions and follow up and get any of the information that you would like to. So thank you very much.